The OBSBOT Tail Air is a tiny auto-tracking PTZ camera that has HDMI and NDI outputs. In this video, I'll show you how you can control the camera with Stream Deck by using Companion. You might be familiar with OBSBOT cameras from their USB webcams, but the Tail Air is a new model that actually has an HDMI port as well as NDI output. I was super excited when I heard about this, and I was even more excited when OBSBOT sent these to me to share with you on this channel. This isn't a sponsored video, I was just really excited about this and I wanted to show you how you can set this up yourself. Before we get to building out the buttons in Companion, I do want to give a quick overview of the features of these little cameras. They are significantly bigger than the OBSBOT webcams, but they are much smaller than most other PTZ cameras. They have a USB-C port for charging or to use it as a webcam, and they have an HDMI port and micro SD slot on the side. They also have a built-in battery and Wi-Fi, so you can actually use it as an entirely wireless camera if you want. But what's also really useful is that they also sell this USB to Ethernet adapter, which actually supports power over Ethernet. So you can give it a network connection and power with just one wire. If you're using the NDI feature, then I would definitely recommend plugging it in over Ethernet instead of using the Wi-Fi connection, since it'll be a lot more stable. And since this is an OBSBOT, it supports the automatic face detection and tracking just like their smaller webcams do. But what I really wanted to show you today is how you can manually control these like other PTZ cameras by using this Stream Deck. I have my Stream Deck connected to a Raspberry Pi running the open source software called Companion. Companion has integrations to a bunch of different video gear, and I have mine set up to control my ATEM and my HyperDecks. I can use it to start and stop recording or start and stop streaming. I can switch what appears in the monitors around my studio, and I run my entire live stream from it. So let's go step by step through setting up a new page in Companion to control the OBSBOT Tail Air. First, you'll want to make sure you grab the OBSBOT Ethernet adapter. This will let you plug this into an Ethernet connection in your network and also give it power over Ethernet if you want. There's also a little USB port on here if you don't have power over Ethernet and just want to power it over USB as well. In any case, this is going to give you a more reliable connection than the Wi-Fi, but also it's a lot easier to set up, so I prefer doing it this way anyway. Next, you'll want to download Companion if you don't have it already. I'll leave a link down below to where you can get that. It is a free application you can download. It runs on Mac, Windows, Linux, and you can also install on a Raspberry Pi as well. Once you download Companion, you'll be able to see what looks like a little Stream Deck emulator here, and you can start adding connections to different gear that you have around your studio. I've already got a bunch of stuff in here created that I use for my live streams, so I'm going to go ahead and just go to page 2, which is a new blank page, and we're going to work here. When you connect the OBSBOT to your network, you're going to want to make sure you give it a static IP address in your router. Now that's going to depend on what router you have as to how you can do that, but that's going to make it a lot easier to do the rest of this because you'll always know the IP address it has every time it turns on. I've already done that in my setup, so I already know the IP address. We're going to go from there. So back in Companion, over in the Connections tab, we're going to go add a new connection. You'll want to search here for Visca. Sony Visca is what is used to control lots of different PTZ cameras. They all support this protocol. Go ahead and click add. It's going to do a little bit of work, and now you have a connection ready to set up here. For the label, I'm just going to call this OBSBOT 1 since I have 3 cameras. That way we can keep track of them. So I need to find the IP address of the camera on the network and plug it in here. For me, it's 10.11.202.31. We will leave the target port default, and we're not going to bother changing any of these other settings. Go ahead and click save, and then it should connect. Now, if you're getting bad configuration here, you might have to toggle it off and back on, and then now it's showing a green check mark, so we know it's connected. Now we can use this connection in a button to create actions. So we're going to want to create a whole bunch of buttons here. We can do things like pan and tilt the camera. We can change the brightness, the white balance. We can even save and recall presets. So let's go through these one by one and build out this page. The good news is a lot of this work is actually already done for us in the presets tab. If you come over to presets, it'll find all your connected gear, and a lot of these things already have some actions that are created. We're going to go ahead and click on the OBSBOT 1 here, and we can now find the pan tilt section, and it's got all these buttons already created for us. So let's make a little array of them for all the different directions. I'm just going to drag these into the surface area here, up, down, left, and right. Might as well add the diagonal ones in for fun. And already now, if we push these buttons, we should see the camera start moving around. If you have a Stream Deck in front of you, you can press the real buttons and you'll see the corresponding button light up in the interface, or you can actually hold down the shift key and then tap the button there as well. One other quick note about the OBSBOT cameras, because they do have the AI auto tracking feature, that actually will conflict with the manual PTZ controls. So you'll want to turn that feature off. you can just hold up your hand like this and it'll stop tracking you. You should see it blink and then the light will turn green, which lets you know that it is in manual mode. So now as I push these buttons, we should see the camera physically be moving as well. So we're already off to a great start, but let's add a few more buttons in here as well. Let's just drag these pan and tilt speed controls in here as well. This is a button that will make it pan and tilt faster, and that'll make it pan and tilt slower. The 12 and 12 are showing the current speeds. So as I press these buttons, if I can press the slower, all the numbers go down, and then when I actually pan and tilt the camera, it's going to move a lot slower. Let's go ahead and drag in a zoom button as well. So we'll go into here to lens. Now the OBSBOT doesn't have an optical zoom, but it does have digital zoom, so we still can zoom in and out. I'm going to drag that here and drag that one there. I don't know why this font is smaller, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to 18. That way it matches. Then we also want to be able to change the zoom speed. So back in OBSBOT 1, we can go into lens, and then there is a zoom slower and zoom faster as well. So we'll drag those up there. So now I can push on the zoom faster button and we can see it's incrementing the speed. There's a couple other useful features in here that we can go and add. Some cameras support this full range of things. The OBSBOT doesn't support all these operations, but it does support the brightness setting, so we can drag those buttons in as well. So I'll go ahead and drag the brightness down there and brightness up there. So this is the picture from the little OBSBOT camera here. And now you'll see again, I can go ahead and move this around, but I can also now change the brightness and it's going to get brighter and dimmer. Next, let's add some white balance controls. If we go back to the color section, there's a couple of white balance things we can do. Let's go ahead and just drag auto white balance here, and then indoor and outdoor. Now let's go look at the camera and see what that does. So now on the left side of the screen is the actual picture from the OBSBOT camera coming in over HDMI into my recording setup. And on the right is a picture of the camera. So now as I go and move the camera around, I can adjust it here. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, change the brightness, and I can now also change the color. Let's just press the auto white balance, which should, yeah, it's already in auto. We can change it to indoor white balance or outdoor white balance. Outdoor is close to the auto. This is the outdoor. Of course, I'm in my studio light, so none of these really look good. So I'll just go back to auto, which is decent. So this is already looking pretty good. So now we're gonna go ahead and make 4 buttons to save and recall presets. I'm actually gonna go and grab this from the preset in Companion, because in Companion version 3, there's a couple of really amazing new features you can use to make these buttons. These are actually already built, so if I just go ahead and drag in preset 1, preset 2, 3, and 4, these already work, but let's go ahead and look at what they're actually doing. So in here, a short press is actually going to recall preset number 1. If you hold it for 2 seconds, it'll go ahead and save it, and it'll highlight this button. And then if you release after the 2 seconds, it'll then clear the highlight. So what this looks like is exactly what you would expect. So let's go ahead and move this camera over here, and then we're gonna save that as a preset. So I'm gonna push preset 1 and hold it for 2 seconds. The button should then turn yellow. Now let's move the camera out of the way, and then short press that, and it should jump back to that same spot. And that's the same for all the other buttons. We can go ahead and set these positions, long press, wait for it to turn yellow, and now I can go quickly between those 2 preset locations. The last thing I want to do is put a little label in here to tell me which camera this is controlling. Again, since I have 3 cameras, I probably want a page for each of these cameras so we can make each of them control a different camera. This camera is marked camera 1 on the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and up in this top corner, make a button with no actions that just has a giant number 1. Let's give it a different background color so that we know that this is just a label. Now I want to recreate this, but for the cameras number 2 and 3. I could do everything from scratch and recreate all these buttons. It wasn't that much work, but as soon as you start going and customizing the colors or things, then you probably want to not have to redo it every time from scratch. In fact, I'm going to make a couple of tweaks before I do this because I don't like the way that some of these are labeled. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that auto 1. We'll just say white balance auto. Instead of up and down, I'm just going to use a plus and a minus. Same with zoom. I'm going to say, I don't know why it's uppercase for this one, so I'm going to make it lowercase and then make that a plus and a minus. Hope if I can spell zoom right. It'd be nice to actually drag in custom icons for these as well, but we'll do that later. You can add images. If you have images, you can go ahead and add full images to these buttons. So I've got this the way I like it. Now let's actually go ahead and export this. Click this export page button. This is going to give you a file to your computer, save to your computer with all the buttons in it. We'll call this OBSBOT buttons. And now I'll be able to restore those buttons into other pages and connect them to other cameras. So if you're doing this from scratch, you'll want to first make sure you go back to the connections tab and then make new connections called OBSBOT 2 and 3 for your other cameras. I've already set those up, so I'm just going to skip ahead. Back in the buttons tab, go to a blank page, go to this import export tab, click import and find that file that you just exported. Here's the OBSBOT buttons companion config. We'll open that up, and now it's going to show us here's what's in that file, and here's where it's going to go in your Stream Deck. I don't want to overwrite my main page, so I'm going to go to page number 3. And now this is the important part. Because I have multiple OBSBOTs, I'm actually going to remap all the actions from OBSBOT 1 to a different OBSBOT camera. So here, I'll make it map to OBSBOT 2. Then let's go ahead and click import. And now if we go to that page, I'm going to change this to a number 2 so I don't forget. And now I've got page 1, page 2. And you can see that camera's actually got different pan, tilt, speed settings already. Let's do it again for the third camera. We'll import that file, import it to page 4, map it to OBSBOT 3, go back and change that to 3. So now on my Stream Deck, I have page 1 for the first camera, page 2, and page 3. And now I can control each of the cameras independently. And that's all there is to it. Now you've got 3 pages in your Stream Deck that you can use to control 3 different OBSBOT Tail Air cameras. I'll go ahead and make this file available to you if you would like to download it. As you can see, it didn't take that long to create, so you can just create it from scratch, and you'll learn some things about Companion along the way if you do that. But I will make this downloadable, so there will be a link down below. Thanks again to OBSBOT for sending these cameras out. I've been testing them out during my weekly live streams, so tune in if you have any questions about them, and I'll show you more about how they work and what else you can do with them. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.